We're going live, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to May 12th. We have made it here to Thursday, May 12th, for another fantastic How Did They Do That Live? And we're really excited to share the MCS EdTech Explorers. So this is our high school showcase, 9th through 12th grades showcase of the great work that our MCS Explorers have done this year. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining in. And we've done this all week. So we've had showcases of the MCS EdTech Explorers throughout the week. On Monday, we showcased the elementary teachers. On Tuesday, the middle school. And today is high school. And you can find recordings of all of these presentations and videos on our YouTube channel. So that MCS EdTech YouTube channel has the recordings. You can go back and look at the showcases. Even today's event is recorded and will be on the YouTube channel later today. So I wanted to share a little bit what we've been doing this whole school year with EdTech. And we've been very mindful to align with the ISTE standards for students this whole school year. So you may have noticed that each month there's been a theme that we've taken each one of the standards. So there's 7 ISTE standards for students. And each month we've delved into them and we themed our EdTech PD that was in the PD catalog. We themed our monthly Bits and Bytes newsletter to that monthly theme. And our How They Did That Live events were themed each month to these ISTE standards. Also, we have the MCS EdTech Explorers, which has been a 7-month program, digital leadership program, 22 educators, and each month they're getting PD on the themed month standard. They're learning about it, they're exploring it, but they're also extending, enhancing, and engaging their students with that ISTE standard that month, and they're creating lesson plans and reflection videos. Which is pretty amazing. And that's what you're hearing today is some showcases from those explorers and some of their lessons that they've done this year that are aligned to these ISTE standards. One of the really neat things that we're going to have available soon, and Alexandra's going to show you a little bit more towards the end of today's session, is we're working on developing a tool with all of these great resources that MCS EdTech Explorers have done. So this resource will be available for all teachers at Modesto City Schools, and you'll be able to look up by grade level, subject area, and ISTE standard to be organized for these lessons that were created, these reflection videos, and these ideas how to align to these ISTE standards in your own classroom. I want to invite you, if you would like to participate as an MCS EdTech Explorer next year, we have a website and a QR code. So with your phone, you can scan the QR code and we'll put the link here to share out in your chat. And we're very interested to have, if you like what you see today, you want to be one of the MCS EdTech Explorers, we'd like to welcome you. So we have an interest survey that you can fill out. It's bit.ly/join MCS Explorers. And you can be part of the program next school year. So today we have several different showcases for high school teachers that participated in the MCS EdTech Explorers this year. We're going to have 2 presentations on the Global Collaborator Standard and 1 presentation on the Knowledge Constructor Standard. I will have to share that throughout this week of all the showcases, the elementary on Monday, the middle school on Tuesday, today the high school, all 3 showcases all together have done showcases on all the ISTE standards that you see here. So definitely take a look at the recordings that we have on our YouTube channel, and you'll see showcases on all of the different standards. All right, Alexandra, I'll let you continue on.
All right, I'm taking over as the hostess with the mostest, and I'm just going to introduce our first presenter. With us today, we have Kimberly Van Horn from Davis High School. She teaches computer science, government, and econ and world history, so lots of subjects under her belt. And she will be presenting on the Global Collaborator Standard for us. So Kimberly, whenever you are ready, feel free to unmute your mic and share your screen.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. There. And then make sure that I find the right one because I have like a gajillion windows open. Okay. So the one I decided to do was on Global Collaborator. And that's basically when students use digital tools to broaden their perspectives and enrich their learning by collaborating with others and working in teams. Here are some of the standards that it covers. So they use digital tools, which I use in all my classes. I teach computer science, but I really do incorporate a lot of technology in all my other subjects as well. So we use collaborative technologies and exploring global and local issues. So the one that I decided to show and present today was on the Holocaust. So I did a lesson on the Holocaust and with my sophomores in world history. And so we talked about why political actions often lead to war and what war impacts happen. So what they did is that they use a variety of digital tools to explore the Holocaust and kind of the lives of people living during that time, especially in the concentration camps. And during the Nearpod, which I'll show you guys, the students are able to go on a virtual field trip. And I'll talk about my love for Nearpod when I get to that slide, but it really does a good job showing them and making things relevant because a lot of times, especially with history, sometimes students don't understand and they don't have that connection to how it's relevant because they've never seen it. They've never like tangibly experienced it. So what Nearpod really does a good job is kind of showing what things look like. So also during those time, during the Nearpod, they collaborate with each other about how it would feel during that time and how they're feeling as a whole during that topic. Here are my lesson steps. And just as a side note, a lot of the big projects that I do incorporate an awful lot of technology. So for this particular lesson on the Holocaust, which was during World War II, they start off with a Quizlet that talk about terms. So they kind of like, it summarizes all the terms they need to know in a kind of quiz kind of way for them, which is like, it's fun for them. And then I have my own slides that I give them for notes. And then we go into Nearpod, and then they have an ed puzzle, and then they have a quizzes, which is really fun. And then if you've never used Blooket before, I really like Blooket too as a review because it's kind of a fun game style review for them and the kids really like it. So talking about my love of Nearpod, I think Nearpod really does a good job with the global communicator as well because it really uses digital tools to connect with the learners. So here are all of the high school field trips in Nearpod. Hopefully this opened. So you can do all sorts of things with the Nearpod. So what it does is it actually will take you there so that you can see the place you're going to. And on this side, you can actually search for certain subjects. So because I'm a social science teacher, I can click social science and it will show me exactly what I need to look for. And there's a lot of things like for World War II, you talk about the island hopping in the Pacific with the Japanese Americans during the war. Then you can talk about Russia. I did one on Versailles earlier this year too that they really like, the Great Wall. There's the Berlin Wall, politics and media. There's like tons of really kind of relevant stuff. And I'll go ahead and show you one as soon as I find one. Where's one? I'll just show you the one on the island hopping. So what it does is it actually has an entire lesson for you that's done where you can actually go through and it'll break down all of your standards. So it's all pre-made and it gives you your guiding and essential questions already all pre-done. I know how much we like pre-done stuff. And then it actually will walk you through. So it gives the background. Some of them do have videos, and then they'll have reflection questions, and then they'll have pair share and open-ended. So it kind of like helps them get through a lot of the different information in more of like a tangible way for them. And it provides you with really good reflective tools as well. So like any kind of polls. And so you can kind of see where your students are. So drawing as well. So this also hits a lot of different learning types. So we're going to visit a Pacific Island. So here it is. So the students actually can take the mouse and drag it around and look to actually see what these places look like. And it just becomes one more piece of relevancy for them in the material. So you might explain what the island looks like, but like they can't really see that. But if you actually walk through and show them and have them actually see it, it makes it a lot more realistic and engaging for them. And if you're like, oh, I don't teach social science, I actually like Nearpod too because it's more than just social science. Like this is teaching math, understanding domain and range. And what the students do is they take a field trip to a zoo and they talk about the range of Siberian tigers and about how it's the tiger's domain. So, I mean, this is pretty engaging too. The kids learn a little bit of science and math at the same time. Like I have my STEM masters and I think this is great. And again, collaborative tools for them, a lot more like hands-on materials, and then the big pair share as well. So it gives teachers kind of a lot more tools in their toolbox, and it makes things a lot more interesting and engaging for the students so that they're not just sitting through a slide deck in class. My reflection is that the students became a lot more engaged with the material when they had the opportunity to actually like see what they were looking at. So with using all these digital tools, it makes things more engaging for them and it really sparked them and their interest. And especially when I use things like Look It or quizzes, it really does help them because it's not just a plain like, here's a quiz, here's a test. It's a lot more like engaging for them. And again, my love of virtual field trips. And it definitely makes the learning material a lot more interesting for the students. Like there's one on a field trip learning volume and going to an aquarium and learning about how much water is in the whale shark tank. What MCS EdTech Explorers program has meant to me is I've worked with ISTE standards in the past as a computer science teacher, but I never was able to kind of like delve deeper in each standard. So with this Explorer program, it really gave me the opportunity to focus on each of the standards and really create lessons to use in my classroom. And sometimes it's hard, like when you see just a page of standards, to understand how to break them up for your classroom. But by splitting it up and actually taking the time to do a lesson for each one, it really did help me look at my instruction to see where I could fit them in pieces to kind of help my students become more engaged and made the material like more tangible for them. So my love of Nearpod. Hope you guys like it. Thanks.
Thank you. That was fantastic. I love all the virtual resources in Nearpod. The lessons are interactive. They have some great formative tools for feedback. And as you saw, some great virtual tools as well. So thank you.
No problem.
All right, next up is Mr. Steve Martinez, a literal award-winning educator. He is from Enox High School. He teaches social science, CP world history, CP government, and economics. And he is also going to be going over the global collaborator standards. So Stephen, whenever you are ready, feel free to come off mute and share your screen with us.
All right, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Do the share function here. Okay, looks like everyone should see it. Go ahead and transition here. So cool. Again, my name is Steve Martinez. I'm going to be talking about the global collaborator as well. I'm really going to focus on how I use this standard with my seniors in the spring with economics. And so again, the students use a variety of tools to broaden their own perspectives and enrich their learning by collaborating and working effectively in teams locally and globally. And today I'm going to talk about how it could be local and also how it could be global. And the way that I do this is use a process called design thinking in my classroom and with my students. And design thinking is where students take a problem, they identify that problem in my own class, and I really bring it all together through a project called the Local Econ Project. And this is where students at Enox identify a problem that they truly care about, and they empathize with it by collaborating and working with stakeholders in the community that are deeply impacted by their problem. And then they go to define it and work through steps of ideation, build a prototype, which then they test it out in the community and eventually propose it to a panel of experts that are in a position of power to make change, or it can provide authentic feedback to my students. So the big piece with this, though, is the mentorship, and I can, on my own, support this process for my students. So I think globally in the sense of allowing stakeholders, both local and global, to come in and give my students feedback during the process. Now, mind you that this is a semester-long project, so to me, this is not a lesson plan, but it's rather an entire learning experience for students that allows them to tap into their own passions by solving problems that they truly care about. And so the mentorship is really big and it's ongoing. And now with technology, we can leverage it in a way to where we can bring in stakeholders from Europe, from Africa, from Australia, from New Zealand. And my students get to get feedback from various different professionals through the usage of technology. Now, I do a couple things to set this up, and not every teacher has to do it this way, but hopefully I give you a little bit of, some tips and maybe some pieces of how you can think globally while instructing our students and having them deal with real world problems. So first thing I want to show you is the kind of areas of network that I have created. So first, I do use Twitter. Now, mind you that I use Twitter, my students aren't using Twitter. Though having some sort of a Twitter presence allows me to connect with teachers when I speak. It allows me, it opens up doors, and it has with places like Microsoft. And when I speak or when I collaborate with stakeholders like this, it's not about me, it's about the connections that I can make that will then in turn open up doors for bringing in other educators, other experts to support my students in the work that they are doing. The other place here is Flipgrid, and let me go ahead and go over to the Flipgrid space. And Flipgrid is powerful for that global collaboration because it does have a spot on their website that allows teachers to connect with each other. And so when you open up Flipgrid, what you could do is go to the top right corner and click on this little icon that says Grid Pals. With Grid Pals, what it does, it will, when it loads, it'll eventually pull up a map. And then within that map, it'll show all active Flipgrid users. And so this map's kind of taking a while to load, but if I scroll down here, there it goes. All the little green pluses are active Flipgrid users. And so it's not just here in the United States, but it's educators all over the world. And if you were to click on one of those green little pluses, you would be able to see a window that pops up, and then you can connect with that teacher. For me as an econ teacher and someone that's using a lot of technology in the classroom, I can do a straight up search, but I can do it by subject matter. Is it useful that my students are collaborating with, let's say, experts in computer science? Absolutely. In design and applied arts? Absolutely. Engineering. And so you can filter through, connect with these individuals, and have a safe space for that connection. And a lot of times my students, both seniors and sophomores, are connecting and discussing and having that civil discourse across the globe, and that provides a different global perspective. Now, what I've done with this is, while we're doing this local econ project, my students present what they have thus far. And so here's an example of my students presenting on Flipgrid. And then I give the Flipgrid to other stakeholders who will then give them feedback on their work, on their project, the data they've collected, their prototype, the whole thing. There's my friend Stacy Roshan, and she was kind enough to let me share this with you today. And so what's great about this is that she was able to come in. She's a math teacher on the East Coast. I provided all of the mentors a rubric, and what happens is she gets feedback and she gives them feedback over Flipgrid, regardless of time or place. And it really allows for students to get real authentic feedback. Stacy, before she was a math teacher, she was an economist, and she has a degree in econ. So learning what the stakeholders do and what they did, a lot of times what I'm finding is that teachers are entering the profession as a second profession. So learning what their backgrounds are and kind of like what they can bring to the table is huge. And then lastly here, I want to show this slide because the students then at the very end of their project, they then propose their prototype to a panel of experts. I am collaborating at the very end with local stakeholders that can give authentic feedback, and people watching will probably recognize the faces that are here. It's hard putting myself out there, be like, hey, can you come in and support my students? But I found that 9 times out of 10, even the people that are, busy doing, like whether it's city council, school board, our very own superintendent, what have you, they're willing to dedicate that little bit of time to provide feedback to our students in powerful and meaningful ways. And so for me, global collaboration is something I'm very passionate about. If you want to connect with me on Twitter, you're more than welcome to do so, or find me through MCS email, and allowing our students to collaborate across school sites, perhaps across districts, across. If anyone is interested, I did write a blog on this particular project, and if you can find my website at learnhumbly.com, and in there, if you go to my blog, there's only one blog there. The website is still fairly new, though I did do a write-up on what this project is, what design thinking is, how powerful it could be, and I also provided there is a template at the bottom. The template at the bottom is something I designed to kind of like a lesson plan where teachers can grab design thinking and also cross-curricular instruction, because this project is cross-curricular, and how to organize it, how to scaffold it for students and teachers, and really walk through the steps of setting up work like this, regardless of subject matter, regardless of grade level. And by going through this and talking with teachers when I present this at conferences, they get really excited. I've gotten feedback after conferences saying how much they enjoy these materials and how much it helped them to really understand what design thinking is and how they can use it to empower students, motivate students, and really change the way that students look and work through material and content. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you, Matthew Ketchum, for letting me be a part of this program. This program is really huge in the sense of evaluating what I'm doing in my own classroom, enhancing those experiences for our students, and collaborating with the other EdTech explorers in a way to where I can grab stuff that they're doing, they grab stuff that I'm doing, and again, furthering and deepening our collaboration within our own district. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. That was fantastic. I think you had a little more time. I didn't know if you had any other videos or anything that you wanted to share. If not, we can move on to our final presenter.
There was a video, though. I was having problems with audio today. So Stacy did make a video, and if it doesn't work, I can drop it in the chat. And this is kind of was her take on collaborating with me on this project. Let's see if it plays.
Okay, I think you might need to reshare your screen.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I want that audio. It's going to do that. Here we go. Let's try that again.
and I had a chance to collaborate with Steve Martinez's classes, and it was such a great experience. So he's been doing some amazing work with global collaborations, just trying to really infuse real life thing into all aspects of his courses. And so in this particular project, he had his students create Flipgrids of their presentations, and he opened up the opportunity for a number of us to give feedback as sort of virtual mentors to these groups. So it was a part of their process of iteratively creating this like kind of a capstone type project. They went through a huge process before I even viewed their presentation of doing a survey, seeing if there was a need for this product or mission in their group. And then they presented kind of a solution that they had come up with after they had done some of that research. And I was able to get on the flip at me with a rubric so that I knew kind of what I wanted to zone in on for the feedback for those groups. And then I was able to connect with them. And it was just so wonderful to have that connection with these students, for them to be able to hear from, you know, a educator outside of their own building, and for me to be able to give some of my experience. I actually studied economics in school, and it was wonderful to be able to view what these young kids were doing. It was just so fulfilling for me as a teacher. And then I hope that I was really able to guide some of the projects and their next steps in their journey as they continue on. So again, I loved this collaboration. I look forward to being able to do more of it. And really thanks, Steve, for reaching out and for the power of tools like Flipgrid to make it simple to be able to do this type of asynchronous yet face-to-face feedback for growth and connection. Bye.
Awesome.
Perfect. That came
I'm
through
gonna
loud
go
and
and
clear.
unshare if
Thank
that's
you.
okay.
Yeah. I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and take back over. Thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, let me go ahead and share my screen one more time. Our final teacher presenter for today is Julia Quinn. She is over at Downey High School, and she is their librarian, and she'll be presenting on Knowledge Constructor. And Julia, we are a little bit ahead of time, so if you have, you know, don't feel like you have any sort of time constraint or anything. Feel free to share all the lovely knowledge that you would like to. All right, Julia, go ahead.
Thank you. I will try. I think mine's a little bit shorter because I'm a librarian. I don't have a proper classroom, and I don't have a proper class. I have all the classes, and so it's my job to leverage the resources that we have in the library in all of the different classes, and to help teachers support and enhance and extend their curriculum so that our students are getting a more robust education. And so that's what I tried to do. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I don't have the right window. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so we worked on, or I made this lesson on becoming a better researcher. And I focused on the standard of knowledge constructor. And what that asks is for students to critically curate a variety of resources using digital tools to construct knowledge, produce creative artifacts, and make meaningful learning experiences for themselves and others. Specifically, students plan and employ effective research strategies to locate information and other resources for their intellectual or creative pursuits. So the lesson idea, the biology department wanted to have their students research different owl variations and different types of owls before they went into their final project, which was going to be dissecting an owl pellet from a local barn owl. But they wanted them to learn about all the different types of owls, and there are over 250. So we wanted to use the databases that the library has. So I went through and found that our students weren't very comfortable or familiar yet with databases, so we focused on Britannica and ProQuest so that our students would have a more comfortable entryway into the world of databases so that they can find those accurate and credible and reliable resources. However, there are some really effective ways to use databases beyond just going to them and accessing them. And one way is through Boolean operators, so that you make sure that you are getting quickly to the correct information. So here's a little video, and I don't know if I shared sound when I went in. Let's see. Does it work?
I'm not hearing it. You might have to reshare your screen real quick.
Okay, shoot. Include sound. Sorry about that. Hi, this is Miss Quinn, your librarian. Welcome to Boolean Operator. Are we good now? Hi, this is Miss Quinn, your librarian. Welcome to Boolean Operators. What are they and why should you use them? Boolean operators are really useful tools that will help you narrow your search, officially called your query, so that you will get the best results possible. There are 3 possible Boolean operators: and, or, and not. You should always capitalize your Boolean operators. Even though not all databases require it, it will never hurt your search if you capitalize them. On the other hand, it could hurt your search if you do not capitalize them, if that database will only recognize Boolean operators if capitalized. So it is best practice to always capitalize Boolean operators, okay? So, why would you want to use Boolean operators? Let's say you are trying to write a research paper about the Apple Computer Company. If you were to type Apple into PowerSearch, your query would give you over 100,000 results, ranging from the fruit to the Apple Computer Company. If we used this search, we would waste a ton of time looking over results that would not be helpful to our research. So let's become smarter searchers. In order to use Boolean operators, you must have a compound topic. In other words, you must have 2 or more distinct parts of your search. Returning to our search for information on the Apple Computer Company, let's turn Apple Company into a search for a compound topic. Using Apple and computer sounds like a good plan. However, remember there are 3 possible Boolean operators that can be used. Each of these operators will have a different consequence to our query. Let's look at our query and some drawings to show us how our results would change based on the Boolean operators used. And. Using the operator AND will put all results that contain both of your search terms, Apple and computer. You will notice that a small portion is highlighted where the 2 different parts overlap. This would give a small amount of results, but each result would contain both Apple and computers. Or will pull all results that have either of your search terms, Apple or computer. You will notice that the entire design is highlighted here because the program is looking for results that contain either Apple or computer. This will give a large amount of results, but not all of the results would be helpful for this topic. However, if you are researching colleges, you would want to use the OR operator in order to search for college or university. Finally, not. Not will remove any results that contain the word or words after not. Apple, not computer. You will notice that only the Apple portion of the graphic is highlighted. Using the operator not will give you results that discuss only Apple but do not include computer. One tip. Some databases use the term logical operators instead of Boolean operators, but the function is the same. I hope you will find Boolean operators helpful to your future queries. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Happy searching! So, as we learned about Boolean operators, we talked about how that's going to impact their searches, especially as they're looking for the Mexican spotted owl wingspan. And when they just typed in Mexican spotted owl, they ended up finding a whole bunch of information. But when they just needed to zero in on information about wingspan, adding in that information about wingspan helped bring those search results to the top of their search results, which made it a much more efficient search for them. And they were really, really excited that they didn't have to scroll through pages and pages of results to find the one thing that they were still missing. Reflection on the standard and the lesson. As the world of research moves increasingly online, student familiarity with databases is essential. I selected the databases for this lesson because the students are just learning how and when to use all of the various databases that we have available. The other benefit of the Britannica and ProQuest databases is that they are available to all schools in Modesto City Schools. They're not ones that are just purchased by and for Downey. As we continue exploring databases, we'll build upon the knowledge constructor standard, and students will become better research and database experts, and they'll be able to use that knowledge to create myriad artifacts. For this one, for their research, they're creating a massive Google Slides presentation, so each student is researching one owl, but they will all be compiled together, so at the end, all the students will have information about 40 different owls. The lesson on Boolean operators and their impact on research queries allows students to quickly access the information that's most relevant to their needs. We also talked about how, yes, this is an excellent search strategy when you're using databases, but it's applicable to any kind of search that you're using. And so students were able to actually go outside of the databases and go to Google and try how they would have searched before, and then try the same search again using some Boolean operators and see how it changed. And they were very pleased with the results, which was awesome. Being able to quickly locate needed information is the final step in becoming an effective researcher and learner. Well, I would like to go and teach more advanced search techniques like truncation and frozen phrases and what wildcards do to searches. I was afraid that teaching all of those in one lesson would be really overwhelming, especially when we have emerging database users. So I'm hopeful that we can create a plan where we start out with some databases and we work in Boolean operators, and then, you know, later in the year or even in a subsequent year, we add in more advanced search techniques so that by the time our students are done in high school, they are expert researchers and able to find the precise information that they're hoping for. EdTech Explorers, my reflection. This EdTech Explorers program has been a wonderful opportunity, though I personally found it a little challenging to balance the needs of this particular school year with our meetings and our homework and our lessons and our book study. I enjoyed all that we did, and I'm grateful that I was able to participate this year. I've really appreciated learning about the ISTE standards. I knew what ISTE was, but I wasn't very familiar with the standards, and I loved being able to explore and dive into each one each month. And I found it very interesting to see how I could use the ISTE standards to help improve classroom practice and apply that school-wide. And again, I don't have big units, I don't have big lessons, but I do get to work with teachers on projects and on units and see how we can add in some more tech to enhance and extend those lessons. I've had so much fun learning about all the different ed tech tools we have available in our district, and I'm honored to have been able to work with our IETS department. They've run an amazing program. They've always been helpful and friendly and positive, and they've made this year a really, really remarkable experience. And I hope anybody who's even kind of on the fence about participating next year applies. It's been really wonderful. And that's it. Sorry, it was short.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Julia. I appreciate your presentation. Go ahead and share my screen again and be sure to include computer sound here. So we have one more treat for you guys today, and that is the MCS EdTech Explorers website. So this is a little bit of a work in progress, and Matthew can let me know if he has anything to add here on this. But we do have an MCS EdTech Explorers website. We actually did a presentation at a local conference on this program. It would be helpful if I could actually show you the website. At the local ETC conference that the SCO office puts on every year, my team did a presentation on the EdTech Explorers program, and we actually wound up building this website for that presentation, but we have hopes to kind of expand this out further with new web pages for each of these standards, as well as the sample lessons and things like that. So this is kind of a starter site here, and I will go ahead and put it in the announcements area. Post that in the announcements now in case you want to click on that website and visit it yourself. Up at the top there, we just have a reiteration of if you are interested in becoming an explorer next year, please fill out the interest survey, and that'll kind of ask for more details and give you a little bit more information about the program. I strongly encourage you to apply, and I promise I might be a little bit biased, but I'm not entirely biased. The educators who all participated, every single one stayed throughout the entire year. They all submitted fantastic lessons, and all of our feedback and reflections really showed that they got quite a lot out of the program. And it was a really good sense of community too. We kind of divided everybody up into smaller teams, and the smaller teams got to know each other pretty well. They got to collaborate together, and overall I think it was a pretty valuable program, and we're really excited to see how it grows next year. So I strongly encourage you to apply. Off my soapbox off that piece, if you scroll down here, if you're interested in seeing our presentation, we do have our presentation from ETC, and then a little bit further down here we do have some great examples of some of the work that our explorers did, and they're organized by standard, and this isn't every lesson plan that we got submitted along with every reflection video. We just kind of curated a few here to give you a flavor of what we are looking at. And so we have a partnership. So for ISTE 1 or ISTE Standard 1 Empowered Learner, we selected Joe Tornberg's presentation and lesson here and his corresponding reflection video. And these are all Google Docs, so I can actually open up this lesson plan, dive into it, and I can see what Joe did for this lesson here. So I can see this is for Empowered Learner. I have the content and skills that he's focused on, the process the students will go through, the ISTE standard, the EdTech tools he's planning on using, whether it's a district license tool or a free freemium tool. And then we have his instructional plan, the assessments and materials and resources. And there is a little bit of reflection on the bottom as well. However, a better place to get a sense of that reflection is that reflection video. And the reflection video that's posted here does go with the lesson. So if you look at the lesson, watch the reflection video, you're actually getting the beginning to end picture of the entire integration of this standard. And then if we scroll down here, we have the rest of the standards, and we do have a couple sample lessons for each of those as well. So for Digital Citizen, we actually have Stephen Martinez and Melanie Gillum. And if you scroll down more, we've got Abigail, a computer literacy teacher, Sherry Chapman, a science teacher over at, I want to say La Loma, but I could be completely wrong. Computational thinker, creative communication, and global collaborator. We didn't get a reflection video for this one, but this is a fantastic lesson plan. And then if we keep going down the site, we have tons of resources here. One that I'm pretty excited about, this particular session represents the culmination, but we actually made a How Do They Do That Live video playlist of all of our How Do They Do That Lives over the past year, including the entire presentation. And then every single presentation, my team went in and chopped them up into the smaller sub-presentations of the various educators and vendors we have. So we have 59 videos in this playlist here of all of our How Do They Do That Live videos from the past year. So if you want to go relive the magic, definitely check out this playlist. We also have a video on the ISTE membership. So if you're curious just want to learn a little bit more about ISTE, there is an ISTE membership presentation, and I think I shared my audio. We might circle back and watch this video here just in just a moment. We also have some great web links on here, including the ISTE standards for students, if you are curious at actually taking a look at those standards, and some of the ISTE books that we read as a part of this program this year. And then down below are all of our Bits and Bytes newsletters as well. So in addition to theming all of our PDs around these ISTE standards, we also themed our Bits and Bytes around these ISTE standards as well. And so you can kind of take a look at all of these bits and bytes from the past year and all the different updates. Some of them are all of them are focused on the ISTE standards. Some of them have great EdTech tools in them. A lot of them have updates from our Performance Matters team and our CLT team, just so you get a perspective beyond just the standards of what's going on in the district and some of the cool updates that are happening. So if you missed any of the bits and bytes this year, you've got the little archive here. The most recent one just went out on Tuesday, this May ISTE Showcase one, and I definitely recommend checking that out. In addition to having some ISTE Showcase information, there is also a ton of great end of year information, including all the important dates that we're going to hit over summer, including when your Schoology classes archive, and then as the school year starts back up, when those classes will be in Power of School, when those will be in Schoology, when those will show up in your digital curriculum. And you can also see dates for students, so you know when students will start to see things as well. So lots of great resources in this May Bits and Bytes. Definitely check it out. And that is what is on this website here. Like I said, this website will be growing. Don't know the planned deadline for this quite yet, but we do plan on expanding out this website so that each of these standards and their corresponding substandards do get a little bit more prominence. They'll get their own page. And actually, I do want to really quickly go into one of these resources because some of you may not have even seen the ISTE student standards at all. So I just want to take you to this web page really quickly and show you what this web page has to offer. And these has each of those broader standards. So for example, in October, we talked about digital citizenship. So you've got this big digital citizenship standard with what that looks like in the classroom for students. And if I were to expand this out, I would get each of the 4 substandards. And all of the ISTE standards are laid out the same way, where they have their big, broad, overarching standard, and then they have substandards built within that. And each of those substandards kind of goes over how the students can meet that substandard within your classroom. And so this is a great resource for you to see. I think a lot of teachers are meeting some of these standards without even realizing it. Especially, I know there's a lot of focus on good digital citizenship, empowering your students, having them think through things computationally. So odds are you probably are doing some of this already, but this is kind of a good way to just go through and take a look at that explicitly. And I actually got some directive here with each of these overarching standards and substandards. There's actually a video that comes with this as well. So for example, here, if we were looking at the creative communicator standard, we can see here the broad standard says that students communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes using the platform, tools, styles, formats, and digital media appropriate to their goals. So that's our big substandard. And then if we were to look at the first, a big overall standard, if we were to look at the first substandard, 1.6a, it says students choose appropriate platforms and tools for meeting the desired objectives of their creation or communication. And then if you're not sure what that looks like in the classroom, or you kind of need a little inspiration, they actually have a little video that goes along with that. And let me reshare my screen real quick because I don't think I included computer audio. So 2 seconds. Because I want to show you what one of these videos looks like. They're only about a minute long. They're nice and short. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this one. Oops, happy clicker here.
Students choose the appropriate platforms and tools for meeting the desired objectives of their creation or communication.
They were able to choose which literary element they wanted to focus on. From a story that we read called Wild Monkeys Live in Trees, it's a folktale. Those elements include characterization, the setting, theme, elements of a folktale, and they were able to choose what media source they wanted to represent that. So they had 6 available to them. They would be able to create a meme to illustrate characterization if that's what they chose. They were able to create a digital book if they wanted to illustrate their understanding of setting, if they wanted to create a video, if they wanted to do stop animation. Being an empowered learner, first of all, it gives the children choice. And that's important because it has meaning to them. It's not just meaningful to me as a teacher, but it had meaning to them because it was something they wanted to do. And they got feedback from a student or from myself or from Ms. Norris, and they did it another way, a better way. True education is them finding the truth about things.
That's one example of a video there, and I just love these videos. They're super short, like you saw here, just about a minute long. They go over the standard, and then you see a real life classroom example of that. And, you know, it's not just kids sitting in front of a computer just typing away. They're collaborating with each other. They're maybe still working on paper. They're getting up and moving and trying out different things. So I very much enjoy these videos because it shows it's not, the focus isn't necessarily on the tech, but the tech can really help augment a fantastic lesson. We'll take a look at maybe one more of these. Maybe we'll look at 1.6C here and take a look at this quick video and just see another one of these standards in action.
Students communicate complex ideas clearly and effectively by creating or using a variety of digital objects such as visualizations, models, or simulations.
I worked with my student's history teacher. He gave me a list of all the landmarks they're going to learn about in histories. They will replicate landmarks like Taj Mahal, the Blue Mosque, Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio, and they're working with their partner to replicate that landmark. The history teachers are very excited to see their projects.
We describe what the monument is about, and then we describe how we built it so we can learn how architectures are different and similar.
They can choose between a large number of tiles and building material. If the structure includes a tile that doesn't exist, they can just create that tile.
It's really nice, so we could have a lot of choices to build new stuff and color it as accurate as possible in real life.
There's a huge difference between looking at a picture of a structure and actually building this structure, and I'm very impressed.
So I like that video because it features one of the tools I think frustrates teachers sometimes in the classroom, and that's Minecraft. I know students tend to get a little bit distracted with Minecraft, but this is a really great example of a way that you can use that and kind of channel that creative energy that students have in Minecraft, but maybe guide it to an educational goal rather than just fun time. All right, that's enough of those videos. I won't make you keep watching them, but I do highly encourage you to check out these standards. They are linked on the website here, ISTE Standards for Students. You can also just look up ISTE.org, and they have a whole section of standards up at the top, including the student standards, the educator standards, and then standards for educational leaders, coaches, and then computational thinking. They have kind of some specifically for that. So they are constantly creating new lists of standards. I think when I first was a member of ISTE, I had standards for students and educators, and then I think the educational leaders and coaches kind of came later. So they are kind of expanding out their scope and helping people kind of look at how, in their particular role, they are encouraging the meaningful integration of tech so that it supports good learning outcomes. All right, I think that goes over what I needed to show you guys on the website. And we have just a few minutes left here. So we'll just kind of do a little bit of wrap up before we call it an afternoon. Just a quick reminder, I think we've hit you with this maybe about 3 times already during this webinar, but if you are interested, you can fill out the interest survey. And if you're still on the fence, but you think you might want to join, fill it out anyway, just so you can kind of get a little bit more information about it. You can always decide that it's not for you moving forward. But if you have an inkling of an interest, I encourage you to fill out the form and at least learn a little bit more about what the program will look like next year. The bit.ly is here. I'm happy to, let me actually copy this and I'll post it in the announcements for you. And then there's also a QR code that you can scan with your phone. And that brings us pretty close to the end here of the Explorer showcases. One thing that I do need you guys to do is I need you to fill out an attendance form for me. This is a Teams live event, which means it captures attendance. Well, okay, it doesn't capture attendance at all. So normally our Teams meetings capture attendance automatically. This unfortunately does not have the same functionality because it's a slightly different version of a Microsoft product. So what I need you to do is fill out a Google form for me. And I'm posting it in the announcements area now. That Google form, if you can fill that out, that will confirm your attendance for today. And then the way that this will work is we are at Thursday. So tomorrow morning, Friday, when I come back into the office, I will take a look at that attendance sheet that you just filled out. I will mark your attendance in the PD catalog. And then from there, I will send you out a copy of the slide deck from today so that you have all the links to the lovely resources we went over. I'll make sure to link that MCS Explorer's website too, in case you want to go back to that. And we'll send out the slide deck. And then I'll also send out the recording from today as well, in case you are just dying to relive the magic. And it looks like we have just about 5 minutes left. So I didn't know if anyone had any final thoughts they wanted to share before we let everyone go for the afternoon. I don't know if Matthew.
Alexandra.
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead, Matthew.
Alexandra, as our audience might be using the Q&A with the question you asked, I just want to say a special thank you to all the MCS EdTech Explorers. You know, we've had a couple of years here in this pandemic, and including this year with many pivots and challenges in the classroom. And we started out with 22 educators in the program, and I am really happy to say that we're here 7 months later, and we have the same 22 MCS EdTech Explorers that have made it through the whole program. They've gone through all 7 of the ITSE standards, stayed with us with everything that we've been asking them. And I just want to say my deep appreciation to all the educators that participated in the MCS EdTech Explorers. They're fantastic. And I also want to say a very special thank you to our team, Alexandra, Angela, Brandon, and Armando, who joined us, being amazing team leaders and helping to support the educators in this program. And Brandon, a special thank you for the book talks that you've been helping out with for the MCS EdTech Explorers. That's been a crucial piece of this program, and you've done an excellent job with showcasing and walking through those books and those ideas with the educators in the program. So just a great big special thank you to the Explorers and my team. Thank you for all that you've done to make this program happen this year.
And thank you, Matthew. This program definitely wouldn't be what it was without your visionary leadership as well. Everyone put a lot of hard work. I know our explorers put in a ton of great work, making their lesson plans, teaching their lessons, making their videos. Our team worked hard on the meeting presentations, the grading, you know, keeping the program going. But, you know, you can have all this great hard work and without visionary leadership, nothing can come of it. So thank you for your leadership as well. And I am excited. I mean, a little sad we got summer break coming up here, which means, you know, we won't be working with educators as much, but I am excited that we wrapped up another great year of how they do that lives. We had a presentation almost every single month. We had fantastic, all of you guys attended. We had a lot of great attendees. I think it was one of our best years yet of how do they do that live, and we're definitely excited to bring these sessions back again next year. And we'll see what the format looks like next year, but we're definitely excited to be doing these again next year as well. So stay tuned for that. And with that being said, the attendance link is posted here. So I think we can go ahead and we're ending just a couple minutes early here. So you guys, you know, you're welcome for the extra 2 minutes back of your afternoon. I'll go ahead and formally end the presentation now, but thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
And Alexandra.
Yes.
To infinity and beyond.
I love it. It's a good way to end.